All right, time to finish this. Well, I don't know if we're going to finish it. We're going to try. But this is the part two. Little plein air painting we were doing the other day. Now we're in the studio. If you notice, when you do a plein air painting, since you're outside, the sunlight is really bright. I try to paint in the shade so I can lessen that, but since the sunlight's so bright, the tendency for a human is to overcompensate and make everything in the painting dark. So when you bring it back into the studio, it just looks really dark. So that's why I always finish them off in the studio. That may not be you, but mine always just end up really dark, and I want to lighten them up a little bit. That's also why you have to kind of watch your lights in the studio. You don't want lights that are so bright that you overcompensate, and all your paintings start looking dark and you don't know why. Well, that might be the reason why. That actually happened to me a couple of years ago. I was like, man, my paintings are really dark. And then I started taking online classes just because I wanted to become a better artist through Tisch Academy. And he explained that concept to me, and I was like, oh, it's like a eureka moment. Andrew Tischler, it's a great artist, and I will put the link to Tisch Academy in the description. So if you want to join Tisch Academy, just go to the description. It will take you to my website where you will find a link to join. Which would also help me out because I get money from Tisch Academy whenever I get somebody to join through the link. So I can't think of the word I'm trying to use right now, but you get the gist. Okay, so I'm putting sky holes back there in that back there in the foliage. I want some sky poking through. Let's see, we might put, trying to think if I want some over here or not. Maybe not. And this is a mixture of cerulean blue and cobalt teal and titanium white. You can kind of mix it up however you want to create the degree of blue that you want. Those are all cobalt teal and cerulean blue are on the cooler scale when you're talking about oil paints of the blues. We'll go ahead and put some. I'm going to have like one group of trees that kind of comes forward from these others. So we'll go ahead and put some sky popping through in here too. Kind of randomly putting that in there. Just about like that. All right, with that same dirty brush, I'm going into cad yellow. And actually, I don't have any gray out on my palette. I'm gonna get some neutral gray. Greens and yellows kind of come forward in your painting. So a good thing to do is mix some neutral gray in with that, and that will kind of neutralize it and set it back. I still want it to look green, but I don't want it to come forward too much. I don't want it to be a real strong green. So I'm going to do cad yellow, a little bit of that cerulean blue, just a touch of viridian green, and a little bit of that neutral gray I just put out there. See what that looks like. It's actually not too bad, I don't think. Maybe a little bit darker. Add a little bit more viridian green to it. And I'm just going back and touching this on those very distant foliage back there, going around the sky holes I just put in. I don't want to kill all that. And I'm also I'm not completely covering up the background that I put in originally when I was out in the field. I'm letting that show through. And what I do is I mix this on the brush, and I don't over mix it. In other words, I leave it kind of marbly, I guess is the right term. Because I want all kinds of things happening in the mixture, basically. Making it a little bit bright like the sun's hitting it. That way I'm going to have a darker group of trees here. They'll show up real good and look like they're in the shadow. Now down here at the bottom, I actually want to make that a little bit darker. So let's go more viridian, because there's some grasses that I want to highlight. And I'm even going to add some Prussian blue to that. So we'll go a little bit darker here at the bottom. So those highlights back there will show up. All right. Now I want to come over here to this other side and do the same thing, because it's kind of on the same plane. These are a little bit further forward than those. But we still want to do about the same thing in there. So I'm just going to go in here and just kind of scrub some leaf shapes in there. Usually these cooler colors are also more transparent, so you can actually see what's going on underneath through them a lot of times if you put it on thin enough, which is very nice. Because then people are like, well, how'd you do that? How come I can see what's going on behind there? And that's because I use transparent. It's basically a wash. I use transparent paint. No detail. I'm just scrubbing this on in a very painterly fashion. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, we're moving forward, so we want to get darker. So now I'm going to go Viridian green, Prussian blue, a little bit of that cad yellow. See what that looks like. In fact, right here, I even want to add some raw umber to that Prussian blue and make it real dark, I think. Because I kind of want that to be pretty dark. Those are the trees on this side of the bank, over the top of the trees that are kind of going back behind there. So I kind of want to get that feeling of distance pushing those back. I don't know if I said this either, but I'm using a number 8 flat brush. All right, I've got some limbs and stuff happening in there. Trunks, tree trunks, limbs, all kinds of things happening. In some places, it picked up the color and kind of got onto the tree trunk. I kind of like the way that looks, so I'm just going to leave it. What did Bob Ross used to say? Happy accident? That is a happy accident right there. I don't know if I'd call it an accident, though. I would call it God, help me out with it. I'm just going to say, God, help me out. That's what I'm going to say. Anytime I can get help from God, I'm going to take it. Don't completely cover up your background. Leave some of that show through, because then you got all kinds of things happening, different values happening, which gives the painting more vibrancy. Now, let's see. I kind of want to take this road. This road almost looks like it's too thick through here to me. So I'm going to bring this dark color down and take some of that road out. That looks a little bit better to me. It makes that road a little bit thinner. I can see it uh, through the railing on the bridge there. All right, I'm going to get a thinner brush here. I've got an angled brush. Actually, I'm going to get a different angled brush. Let's see. Okay, I got a little bitty angled brush. I can't tell you what the number is. Yeah, I can. Number 3. There's a lot of paint on it, so it's hard to read. Turned it in the light a different direction, and then I could read it. So number 3 angled brush, angled filbert, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put some limbs coming through back here just to add some more interest. And I'm going to go into some gray. And in the middle of the darkness, you're going to have to make it a little bit lighter to get limbs to show up. So I just put straight neutral gray on there. And just go through here and put in a few limbs. Now see how I'm putting these in and I'm letting them break. You know, the foliage is going to go over the limbs and the trunks in places, so I'm letting it break to get that point across. I'm not painting in the full limb except for in maybe a few places. Maybe I'll put a trunk right there, fill it in a little bit more, but other than that, I'm just going to let it break and, you know, let things happen. There we go. All right, that's a pretty effective background. Now we're going to move forward. Or actually, let me get in I want some light back there. So I'm going to go with that cad yellow and titanium white. And I want some light hitting right back here. Like you get a little area in the sun coming in front of that road. And then right here you got some weeds and stuff, brush that's really getting hit by the sun. So I'm going to kind of scumble some weed shapes in there. Doing this real quick. Quick and suggestive. Leave that in there. Looks like a shadow coming down there. That looks kind of nice. Put just a few highlights up here in these trees. Far back here. Not too much. I kind of like that being a little bit of a darker area there. Cad yellow and titanium white. And it will mix in with that dark color already got on there and turn green, which is okay. And I don't want to kill all this dark, so maybe just about that much right there. Watching my edges. Some places I want heavy highlight on, other places I want to kind of blend it in a little bit so the edge ain't so drastic. Okay, on this road, let's see. I want to use neutral gray. I'm going to get a new clean brush here. Got another angled filbert that's about the same size. I'm going to use some neutral gray along with titanium white because I don't want any yellow in it. And I want to kind of scumble this in on this gravel road. And I'm just kind of scumbling. Like I said, don't cover up everything underneath. You're just kind of throwing highlights over what's already down. That way it looks like a nice gravel road. Keep getting hair in my painting. I don't want hair in my painting. When I say hair, I mean cat hair, because we got 4 cats in this house and hair gets everywhere. Little fuzzy hairs. Now I can hit it brighter in a few spots and I can imply, the sun shooting through the trees. Maybe it's hitting it brighter right there. Who knows? Who knows? Now, when I get closer, I make my I make it so I can start seeing maybe some little individual pieces of gravel. I still don't want to get too detailed with it because this is more of a impressionistic piece. I do kind of impressionism mixed with realism, I guess is what you'd call it. Maybe halfway in between. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just making stuff up, making it up as I go. Because sometimes, for me anyway, I almost feel like if I get too much detail in a painting, uh, it's almost like it loses life for me. Now, other people are real good at painting an extreme amount of detail and still maintaining, the life in the painting. But that's just not me. And I almost kind of like just painting this way. I don't know, when I put too much detail in, I start kind of losing interest. All right, I'm going to come back with a little bit of raw umber and the Prussian blue, and I want to put some more umber than blue though, because I don't want it to be too dark, and I want to put some of these shadows back in, dappling across this road here. But I want the edges to blend in a little bit, so the edges of the shadow are not so extreme. Because if you leave, if you got really hard edges, it's really hard to look at for the eye, which I've learned along through the years because I used to make really hard edges in my paintings, and some of them just weren't fun to look at, I figured out. Now there's a couple of other areas that I want to put some of that shadow across the road, like maybe over here. Just apply some shadowing going across that road. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to switch to some warmer paint colors, so I got to get some of that on my palette. Give me a minute here. Get the right bucket. I got my paint separated between warmer colors and cooler colors. Let's see, we want to do that bridge first. Get that bridge nailed in. So I'm going to bring some burnt sienna out. I want some ultramarine blue. Maybe some cad orange. That might be nice with that light hitting that bridge. And I'm going to use some Van Dyke brown. All right, what else do I need? Yellow ochre, maybe? We'll throw some cad yellow medium out there too, just for some good highlights. And where's my yellow ochre at? There it is, yellow ochre. All right, titanium white. Let's see, what is this? Okay, titanium white. Along with some yellow ochre. I do not know why this brush keeps getting hair in it. It is driving me nuts. Okay, this back rail here on the other side of the road. Add some of that cad yellow medium to that too. I'm going to throw in some highlight on that sucker. There we go. Now the railing going between them. You know that, trying to look at this here. I think it looks all right for our purposes. Yeah, I think we're all right. Okay. Now I want to come to the other side of the bridge. I was going to say I don't know if those two look too far apart, because if it's coming at you, but I mean, it's kind of coming, it kind of should be coming around the road. So I think it's okay. And then this one's at a different angle. It's kind of weird dealing with angles like this. I mean, I'm just going off of what I saw out in the field, and only human, so I don't get everything perfect. So, sometimes your eye kind of misleads you, but I think it looks all right. I think we're going to go with it. I was about ready to repaint the whole rail, but after a second look, I think I'm just going to leave it. This is a plein air painting, so the little errors and everything is actually kind of what makes the painting. I mean, you can tell it's hand painted. I was eyeballing the angles and all that, so that actually makes it a little bit special, I think, in my mind. So I'm going with it. You can tell it's not AI generated. Well, for one thing, you're watching me paint it right here. Of course, I guess an AI can make a video. I don't know what AI does. Okay, I need to make these thicker back here because the sun's kind of coming straight onto that part of it. I am a low tech man. I have no idea all the capabilities of AI. Technology is good in a lot of ways, but in some ways, I grew up in a simpler time, and I kind of miss the simpler times when people actually talk to each other. Went and met each other for coffee or whatever. The old folks in the little town I grew up in went and played bingo, which I think they still might do, but The whole town played bingo. Met on a certain night of the week and played bingo. Who doesn't want to play bingo? In fact, I just like saying that word, bingo. There's certain words that just flow off the tongue. Okay, I'm kind of can't see, so I'm just going to kind of, let's see, that's a little bit too bright. There, I kind of want to see the edge of those a little bit better. So I'll just imply it there. Like the sun's kind of hitting that railing and casting a shadow there. But it's not going to be as strong a light on that side. I grew up in a small town, kind of like the old song. I was raised in a small town. John Cougar Mellencamp. There we go. Now getting some of the angles on these is kind of weird because you don't like this is the face here, but it's not going to be as bright as that little lip on the top that's holding the pillars up there. And I want some dappled light on that too, so I'm going to leave it kind of broken. You got some shadows hitting it. Like that. You got this center wall in there, which would be the same value, so I'm going to bring that down. Like I said, when I was out plein air painting, this is called an RCB, or a reinforced concrete box, going underneath the road, so it's a concrete structure, lets the water through. Don't know if you need to know that terminology, but in case you wanted to know, you have now learned something new. This is the head wall, that's the center wall, this is the wing wall. comes out to the side to hold all the dirt, the ground back. So we're going to scrub some brighter color in. I'll let it break because that'll imply shadows and stuff happening. And it looks good. Okay, I'm going to take straight white. Usually I don't want straight white on anything except for sparkles on water, that type of thing. But for a concrete wall, I'm going to make an exception. So I want to hit the top of this, and it's not exactly straight because I'm using the same dirty brush here. And on the top of this, there's like a little lip there that catches the light. So I want that to be really bright. Ain't too bad. That looks pretty good. I like the way that's coming down through there. Okay, now there's a little light happening right there. So I'm going to take some yellow ochre with that cad yellow medium, I think it was, and some of this white. And there's a little bit of light. Got to get the angle right. It's angling down right there. Needs to be a little bit darker because it's got to be darker than that, the edge of that wall out front. Trying to think if I need that here too. Maybe so. Come down at the same angle there. Now I'm going, I want to put the dark back in, so I'm going ultramarine blue and Van Dyke brown for this dark color. Get that pretty dark in there. Now those, where that light's coming down is kind of a hard edge, and I don't like that, so I'm going to just kind of soften that a little bit with a clean brush, just soften that edge. There we go. See, that's a little bit nicer, not so harsh. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Actually makes it look more realistic too after you soften it. Okay, I'm going to come back around behind it here and take a look at it. Got to step back away from your painting and take a look every once in a while. That is starting to look pretty cool. All right. Simple little painting, but very effective. The older I get, the more I like simple. I'm a simple man. Okay, we're going. Let's see. We need to put something right there. So I'm going to go. What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me find some Hansa yellow here. Hold on. I'm going to get out some Hansa yellow medium. Trying to think if I want that to be darker there or lighter or what I want. Because I got to figure out what I'm going to put in front of it. Let's just go. I'm going to go a little bit of that ultramarine blue and that cad yellow. See what kind of green we can make with that. Yellow ochre too, who knows. Let's just kind of make kind of a medium tone in there. How about that? Scumbling in some, clumps of grasses, little weeds, stuff like that. Stuff happening in there. Now I got some cad green here, titanium white. I can actually pull some stuff up that's happening, little weeds and stuff happening out of that. Maybe falling down over that wall, the wing wall. All right, that's good enough right there. I don't want that to be the star of the painting, so we just need something back there to kind of fill that spot in good. I'm going to start working on these grasses and stuff here. All right, let me wipe this brush off. Already got kind of a base in there, so I want to take some of that cad green. Start putting some grasses and stuff here on the side of the road. I'm just kind of I'm using my number, what was it, number 8? Oh, this one's actually a number 6. Number 6 flat brush, turning it vertically and just kind of tapping some weed, grassy things happening there. Just kind of tap it and leave it like that. Not too big here. I want them to be smaller back here until you come down in here, then they get bigger. Leaving the background show through because I did all that work. Why would I want to kill it? Makes it look like multiple things happening. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I want to take another brush and put some darks on it. Got a little angled filbert. I'll put the ultramarine blue and the Van Dyke brown on it and come in here and tap in some dark, like some shadow things happening along with it. Go back and forth. Now I'm going to switch back to the one with the cad green on it. Dark and light. Light and dark. Whew, big old glob of white. That actually looks kind of cool, so I'm going to leave that. Little things happening there. I'm making these things a little taller as I come forward, obviously, because it's getting closer to you. And I'm leaving all these, see how it makes all these marks? I'm leaving that on there because it looks like, seed pods and all kinds of stuff happening on the ends of those bushes or weeds or whatever. Now I'm getting more into my cad yellow there. Move this forward a little bit so I can get the bottom edge. Today is July 1st, 2026. On Saturday out here at the lake, there will be all kinds of fireworks and celebration. It's kind of cool. Other than the heat, I like the cold better than the heat. That's the only thing I don't like about 4th of July is the heat. You know what? I got that cat orange out. And since I have it out, I'm going to add a little bit of that in there and just switch the color a little bit, give it a little orange flare in there just to switch it up. Like you got some grasses that didn't quite make it. Maybe the heat killed them off or something. You got to throw some different stuff in there every once in a while. And it is hot. It's like 95 today here where I'm at. Okay, that's all looking pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to bring this, I got some group of trees here because I wanted an eye stopper there. So I got to wipe this brush off because I want to use this brush to put it on. Clean it off with my mineral spirits. Wipe it off. Okay. So I'm going ultramarine blue and Van Dyke brown, excuse me. Had a hiccup there. All right, these tree trunks. Set this back again. I'm going to darken them. Make that one a little bit thicker, maybe. See, that nice warmer color brings it ahead of all the cooler colors I put in the back. That way I'm also getting a nice vibration in my painting between warmer and cooler. And when I say warmer and cooler, what I like, the greens I put in the back are a cooler green. The greens I put in front are a warmer green. That's what I mean by warmer and cooler. The blues I put in back are a cooler blue, and the ones I put up front are a warmer blue. And this only applies to oil paints. You got warmer variations of each, warmer and cooler variations of each color. If you're doing acrylics, it's basically just, blues warm and red's cool or whatever. I'm sorry, blues cool and red's warm. Had it backwards there. So you really don't have to worry about that too much if you're doing acrylics. And it's because of the chemical makeup of the paint. Of the way they mix the colors for the oil paint is why it's like that. So I've been told anyway. If you want to prove me wrong, consult a chemist because I really don't know. I've just been told that. So that's how I paint. Seems to work. So I'm going with it. All right, that's looking pretty cool. All right, light's basically coming from the right. So I'm going to put some highlight on those trees. Not too much, though. So let me get some titanium white out of here because my pile's getting dirty. And some fresh, clean titanium white. Okay, I got some titanium white. I'm going to mix up some cad orange and Hansa yellow. Just in a few places, I'm going to hit some highlight on that tree there. Maybe a little bit of yellow over too to make it not so. I don't want it too bright. You got to keep on dipping because it's going to get into that dark paint. Well, I got to wipe your brush off and contaminate the paint, so you got to keep wiping and putting it on there. And leave some places where there isn't any highlight because you're going to have kind of dappled light coming through all them trees and stuff. I'll put some down here. Just kind of making some bark shapes. All right. That's looking good. Now on the back side, we're going to put reflected highlight. And what I like to use for that, if I can find it, is a color called radiant blue. Yep, radiant blue. I'm using Gamblin oil paints in case any of you wanted to know what brand I use. So on that back side, I will go radiant blue. And then I will kind of scrub it into that dark color to tone it down a little bit. Let it mix in with it. Does two things, kind of gets rid of that hard edge, and it makes your tree look round or cylindrical, if I can get the word out of my mouth. There, that looks pretty effective, doesn't it? Okay, I better go back. Like I said, 7 feet away. Gotta check it out, make sure it's looking okay. Sometimes you think it looks good up close, and then you step back and it looks like crap. I think this one's looking fairly good. I'm happy with it anyway. Okay, let's put some, I got some dead limbs and stuff kind of sticking up there in the foreground at the base of that tree right here. Need to get them squared away. And then after I get those squared away, I ought to just about have a finished painting here. And down here, I'm just scrubbing in some shapes. I don't want too much detail right here, it's kind of in shadow and everything. Like I said, just kind of some dead limbs and sticks sticking up. Kind of set some of the grasses and stuff back. I think that just about does it. We're going to call that one finished. Thank you for joining me to paint this one. If you don't mind, hit a like and subscribe. Till next time, remember Christ is King and Paine is out.